Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta. Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta.
Hey, everybody, good evening and welcome again to another live episode of the Upper Bench podcast. Hey, we're just chatting sauna tonight. We're going to take it easy. Again, if anybody wants to have a question or even get on the stream with us, feel free. You can hit the link below. By all means, we'd love to have all kinds of question and comments. So don't be shy. Feel free to reach out or just drop us a line in the chat. See where you're coming from tonight. But Risto, Eero, how are we tonight?
Doing well, doing well. It's starting to warm up. Spring is coming. Beautiful sunset outside. And it's I'm looking forward to geeking out about sauna with you guys.
Absolutely. Eero, how are we?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I took a red eye from Oregon, Portland, Oregon. I was there for almost a week, and I came back just in time to do the last webinar of the Sauna Week with Mikkel Allen. So there's been a lot of sauna, and not only that, I actually did some. I went to a public sauna in Portland called Sauna Glow, and I had a very nice experience there. And I am actually flying to Finland on Friday, so I'm looking forward to the residential buildings exercise sauna. In my case, unfortunately, it's going to be sauna without the exercise part. But regardless, I will do some serious sauna on Sunday.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, everybody out. If you don't know, we're kind of wrapping up the end of National Sauna Week here. We kicked it off last week with a stream where we chatted with members of the Finlandia Foundation, and we debuted our first ever sauna song. Eero graced us with his guitar playing skills, and it's an awesome fun song. Eero, tell us a little bit about making that.
Yeah, that's a good question, and thanks for your kind words. I'm a lifelong guitar player, and I never ever thought that I'd go to a recording studio, but I did, and what I even less thought that I would be ever doing, going to a video studio, doing a music video, and then you can sort of, if you check that on YouTube, you can see my face. It's like, I have to practice my music video skills in the future. But anyway, so it's such a long story, but I'll try to tell it to you so as briefly as possible. So I've known these great ladies that I work with for quite some time now because of the Finlandia Foundation connection. I'm the president here in New York. I've been that for a while. So one time, Epi Ursin and I took a cab. We were at the same party, and we took a cab. I was going home and via the Grand Central Terminal here in New York City, and she was going home. And she started talking that Eero, we should play together. And now you have to keep in mind that this lady is a hardcore professional. So she has released many records, and she's well known in Finland. And I thought that, gee, like, who is she talking to? It's like, there's some other people in this cab, but no, she was talking to me. And then I started talking, and my input, I'm very proud of myself. I have to say that my input is that I made the original like chord progression for that song, and then I wrote the original version of lyrics. What happened after that is only the ladies. The ladies took over, and they did a fantastic job. So it's just what you hear. What you hear is I have like I made the groundwork, but they took over it, and what a nice project. One of most stressful days of my life. If you want me to play wrong, I'm very good at it. But if you want me to play like the actual way the song is supposed to be played, it's kind of difficult for me.
Well, yeah, they were very beautiful singers. They did a great job. And then you were kind of like the pretty face of the group. So it was nice. It was a good trio.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to add a little sex appeal to it.
I mean, this grim face, this old grumpy man sitting there on the bench, kind of a face. Yes. No, but it's just like, I never ever would have thought that I would go to a recording studio, and it's streaming everywhere now. We'll see how the numbers go. We were actually talking just before the recording started, so we're gonna we're gonna hit 1,000 views on YouTube today. So
Very
so it's getting recognition a little. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had a great sauna this afternoon. We fired it up around 3 o'clock or so, and man, just kind of needed it after this weekend was a little chilly, kind of all
Mhm.
over. Even down here in the southeast, we had a good cold spell, hard frost, and I'm just ready for spring. Like Risto was saying, I am just geared up, ready for spring. I'm stocked as far as the wood goes. So I don't know what other sauna projects I've got in the works here, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we sounded last night at Julie's mother's sauna. Um, and she has, I don't know if I can show a picture of it. I'm gonna try and pop a picture in here real quick, see if it works. Can you see that?
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, so we put that kit together for her, and it has an electric heater in it. It's got a Hoom electric heater,
Okay.
and now I need to figure out how to stop sharing the picture.
Yeah, it looks like a little metal roof on there.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be nice.
So we were having trouble getting it hot. It could never seem to get quite up to temp.
Mm,
And Whom implemented this thing. They've been having some trouble with their elements burning out. They implemented a thing where it kind of like heats a little bit, then stops heating, and it's a, kind of its own heating algorithm. But there's a way to go in and turn off. My friend Eric told me, let's see, what was it in the safety settings? Failure DET, and then also pauses. So we turn both of those off in the settings, and it seemed to do a little better. We probably
mm.
need to kind of kick it through the paces again. It
Yeah,
takes a little while to heat. I think the heater that we got for her, I think is a tad undersized for just being outside in that uninsulated building.
So
sure. I was going to say you're battling some elements being a standalone structure out there too.
Yep.
Tia, what do you say that it takes a little longer to heat up? What does it mean in minutes?
So yesterday it was what were we, probably 40 degrees out when we were heating it up, and it took that heater's got 300 some pounds of rocks, and I can't remember if it was a 9 kilowatt, and
Yeah,
again
it's gonna be pumping out some
uninsulated
good.
out. That
Should be pumping out some good heat.
Yeah, it's decent. I think it took maybe 3 hours to get to about 160.
Holy cow!
But that's not, I think 9 kilowatt for that building, having all the leaky spots and no insulation and everything, and the amount of rocks again, I think that might be kind of what you would expect. But like I said,
Mm,
I need to give it a go again and see how it does.
sure, and it's breathing all right.
Oh yeah, too much. That's why I'm not super troubled by the 3 hours. I can see, like, the gap beside the side of the door that I need to fix up.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, as so many times said, it's not a bad thing that it's drafty. That's kind of a good thing in a way. But that's interesting that it takes so long. But yeah, we spoke about this a couple of episodes back. But a good friend of mine has this barrel with an electric heater, and you can, like, in the dead of winter you can forget sauna bathing because it's not gonna heat up. It's not gonna be hot enough for the sauna.
Yeah, the nice thing is, even though it was a little bit too low of temp, like if I were to do this again, I would start like 4 or 5 hours early. Just give it plenty of time to heat up in this winter weather, which isn't a terrible thing. That's like how the old Savu saunas used to
Mhm.
go. But I will say that 300 pounds of rocks was plenty hot. So even at 160, we were still good. I can make tons of steam without running out. And I was throwing water on the side up rocks, halfway down, and it was instantly vaporizing and creating a cloud of steam. So yeah, I mean, we would have had to have that at that temperature, or we wouldn't have been able to sauna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also like close to like you said, the old Savu sauna thing. It's just like sometimes it feels that it's not hot at all, but when you start throwing water, then it kicks butt, and that's a good thing. And actually, it was interesting. So I went to I got invited to many other places as well, but we actually had time to only one evening to do real sauna bathing, and that was a new place called the Sauna Glow in Portland. And it's just obviously there are rules, there are regulations and stuff everywhere, so you can't like tell that one thing is better than the other. But obviously, in a Finnish style sauna, you control the heat by Löyly, by the steam, and they had this that was beautifully taken care of at Sauna Glow. So you really could use the ladle, and there was twin Harvias there, twin Harvia heaters, and they did a good job. And we were at steady. Well, actually, we were right on the line, right on the UL line. So we were clocking like 195, 190, 195 between there, and with the steam control, it was just fine. It was pure perfect.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, I would say, we probably averaged right around that 195 mark this afternoon in my sauna. And for me, yeah, as long as the rocks are good and hot and you can make a good Lulu, then all by all means, that I don't need 220, to have a good time. It sometimes it's fun, but I don't need it. But I definitely need to be probably above 170, with some good steam, to make a benchmark, if you will.
Well, and there's no reason that the US market can't come to line with the European market. So I don't know how familiar our users are with the UL limitations, but you mentioned 194, and 194 is the limit because that's 90C. And for whatever reason, they capped it at 190C way back in the day for UL. It's 190C. They also have you're supposed to have the temperature measure above the heater instead of like across the room. So that's lowering it even more. And a 1 hour time limit, I think, for the heating time,
Yep.
and also a high limit sensor on the actual electric heater. So, and it's my understanding that the European market doesn't have those limitations. Their limitations are 230 Fahrenheit with the temperature sensor across the room, and then no high limit sensor and a 3 hour heating time limit. So I have hope that our North American market can kind of come into alignment with that, just to give you a little bit more headroom.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, and if you're close to the Canadian border, folks, I'm not saying, you've got a choice in where you buy your heaters, but if you can, maybe go and buy a Canadian heater, and wire it properly in your own homestead, and you're not worried about, how you do it and how you insure it, then hey, you can get there too. Those heaters are available in Canada, or even importing them directly from Europe. You can get them online, but again, you're going to run into code issues. So again, if you need it to be inspected, or if you're having an electrician install one of those for you, they might shy away from doing it. They might not sign off on it. They might not just do it at all. But if you're handy and you can put a couple wires in, then you can definitely achieve it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. A couple questions about that, or a couple thoughts about that. Is Canada different than us? I wasn't sure about that. They might have.
Yeah, as far as their, yeah, they can get the European standard heaters. They can, because they're also on a, what is it? I'm gonna sound crazy if I try to throw numbers out there, but that it is a different voltage or a different circuit load, that they have, higher capabilities and or higher tolerances.
And then my experience so far, and again, the US is such a big place, your mileage is going to vary by where you live. You have to look into whatever your local restrictions are. But when we set up that sauna for Julie's mom, like I had to do all the homework and legwork. I think online I had heard most often insurance companies are going to be the problem.
Hmm.
But I contacted her insurance company and they said, uh like, we don't have any issue with what you use as long as you pass inspection, because I was curious about using a European heater.
Yeah.
And So all they cared about was passing inspection. So then it came to the inspector, and that's where your mileage is going to vary depending on what your inspector does. But our local inspector, like, they seem to be mainly caring that the electrician installed it by the manufacturer's um by the manufacturer's instructions.
Yeah. Yeah, so you
And
had the
that's
right
the basic.
breaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm under the I'm under the idea that that I think that Canada, yes, they are like you can use a European standard basic heater there, but their inspections are extremely strict.
Awesome.
So there's a chance that yeah, that you still run into problems. I'm not 100% sure how this goes, but I've heard from some people, some members of the North American Sauna Society, they've had these issues. It would be it's being discussed that it would be great to collect all these building codes and whatnot, but it's also kind of a thing that for one, I haven't rushed to do that because but we're still kind of, even though there's a sauna boom
Mhm.
going on, but we are still kind of like under the radar. So people really don't know what they're inspecting, what the idea is and what the sauna is used for. So we're a little bit, behind the curve.
Yeah, sometimes that works in people's favor because you might be able to get away with something. But I think a lot of times, at least in my experience, it kind of works against you a little bit, because your electrician might think that a sauna is the same thing as a hot tub. And so they might be asking to add all kinds of extra stuff that you don't really need. And I think that's probably more common. I think we could potentially benefit because you mentioned code, but actually I think the US code doesn't really even cover sauna very much. It is like a very much like a gray area, follow the general principles. We could potentially benefit from having some more specifics, I guess, as long as they don't end up being too strict so that you end up with a UL part 2 where it makes using an electric heater just a pain in the butt.
Right.
But yeah, I hear you, but at the same time, it's and I'm probably bending the truth here, but I can't remember once during my first 39 years living in Europe that I would have seen a charred wall behind the heater, and I see those everywhere here. So it's just like even this with this strict UL code, hassle. Somehow it's like there's I don't know, I don't know, Sam. Have you seen that happen, or and then is it because they wouldn't adhere to the code, or is it just something else that's going on? Because that's super scary to me.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of, just what we're seeing with, just quality in products overall. Things aren't made like they used to anymore. So we are seeing cheaper quality come out of a lot of the manufacturers, and with thinner gauge metal, you're not getting as much shielding as you once did, probably, in those old fashioned heaters that were built like tanks. They worked, and now you're seeing all these cosmetic designs come out that, hey, this is only designed to really be an eyepiece, not so much function like the
Mm.
heaters of yore, where, hey, this thing's going to get heated up maybe once a month, and that's fine. You're not going to have a lot of issues with that. But if you use it regularly, like a sauna should, then you're gonna have problems, because these heaters, if you're not careful and they're not installed properly with the right clearances, heat shielding, and you're using the wrong materials, you can really have a bad time.
That's it's funny because that's we've been covering this many times over, but you make a good point there, Sam. Because if you use well, it's kind of the question what the sauna is used for, and that's kind of a funny thing to say. But most of the saunas are not used for sauna, and talking about sauna bathing stuff. So if you're one and done for 10 minutes, doesn't you don't need that ventilation
Right.
there. You're just totally fine. But if you're gonna use it for real, for sauna bathing as it's supposed to be used, then you can run into charred walls and whatnot issues.
Exactly.
And Finn said, let me pop this up here too. Finn says his indoor sauna is a 6 kilowatt Thule brand. Heats up to 194. No charring on the wall. It could be some of the older heaters, I wonder, could be a little bit more robust. I don't know about the whole electricity thing, but are all 9 kilowatts created equal? I've heard people complaining about some of the elements in the newer heaters burning out quicker. And I did talk to Elo up in Michigan about their electric heaters, and they said they use a more robust element. So I've heard that mentioned a few times. So that could be something to watch for on electric heaters, is the quality of those elements.
Yeah, and I suppose one thing you could look out for is if the manufacturer does have a diameter spec for, the actual size of the element. I'm not going to lie, bigger is probably going to be a little bit better when it comes to elements, because you're heating that metal up to a red hot state, and you are going to embrittle it over time with, expansion contraction, especially if you're throwing water on it. So, if you've got a diameter that is a 32nd of an inch, even bigger than something else, that's quite substantial in the world of metal.
Yeah, and I actually have. Let me show you another. Since we're talking about electric heaters, let me show you one other picture here. Here's an old advertisement. You can tell me if you guys have ever seen this. You see that Nordcraft, and you see that heater?
Yeah, that
Wow.
thing's huge.
Yeah, it looks huge. I don't know if it's gas or electric, but
It almost looks like it might be a wood burner in the Nordcraft catalog, because there it looks like there is some kind of event outside, but that could be gas, just a gas burner. I don't know. But the one on the left looks like what is that? The old Scandia?
yeah, I've seen that one before. Yeah.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, so what else has been going on in your sauna world?
Just really getting ready for spring here. I've got, probably 2.5 cords of wood stacked, ready to go. Ready to, get that sun on there, get it seasoned up, and really just excited to get out in the outside again. Especially with hiking season is now really upon us. Things are starting to green up. We're gonna get some nice weather. And nothing is better after a nice long hike than jumping in the sauna, just getting loose after being kind of tight, walking up and down the hills. Um, Definitely looking forward to some nice spring saunas.
I was I we did a sauna in Stamford a week ago on Thursday, and that was good. The boys got together. There had been a long pause, but that was a great sauna night, and I don't. It seems that we are at that point of the year where everyone is kind of tired of the coldness, and it's been a super cold winter here in New York. So the warm sauna was really really nice, and we had a good crowd. I can't remember how many people were there with us, but we had the fire pit and everything, so it was just the way it's supposed to be. And I said, now that I'm doing the lecturing thing, this was my second travel. I started in Hancock, Michigan, and I was now in Portland, Oregon. I will go. I don't know what's going to happen in between. I said I'm leaving for Finland for a couple of weeks, and I will do a lot of sauna there during my trip, and I think I'm going to be in Seattle in May. So I'm going to go back to the West Coast in May. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. We're going to heat up our I'm not sure yet if we're gonna go through the smoke sauna thing that we have now. So we are the proud owners. Yeah, as Michael Allen said yesterday, that's the Cadillac of saunas. So he turned the engine on. Hopefully, if not during this trip, it's gonna be during the next one. It's a hybrid, so it also has a wood burner, so I can cheat and use the wood burner. And that, even though it's a small heater, but it kicks butt when you really heat it up.
Excellent. Yeah, you can't go wrong. No, hopefully, Eero, you can get some pictures for us, or maybe even a little video. When you get that thing fired up, because I know a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers, they still, they haven't been in that elusive smoke sauna yet or seen the whole process. So I think that would be a great little video for us to put out there. Hey, we're gonna fire this thing up at noon for later today, or whatever you're firing it up, and just really show that full process, because it's the real deal.
I have to do it. Eventually, I have to do it. And what's actually there's a reason why I probably won't fire it up this time, because it's my father-in-law, bless his soul, he passed away 4 months ago. So he was getting old, and he put actually what kind of what people should do basically. He put a guardrail around the smoke heater, but the guardrail was installed wrong, so it's preventing the water tank from the
Mm,
water tank pipe for it has to go into the the box, the what do you call that thing, the not the ash box, but the actually the where the burning takes place. So
yeah,
it's just like it's not going in a we would ruin the whole thing. It would be heated up now because it has to have that pipe going all the way back to the firebox. So hence I have to get rid of the guardrail before I can actually heat it up for real. But I will. And one thing, I might have mentioned this before, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because I there was somebody along the family who were like extremely handy. So this fire this smoke sauna heater is made by this person by himself, and it's based on a American 55 oil barrel. So that's what it is. It's a 55-gallon barrel that has been shaped into a smoke sauna heater, and it's works extremely well. I've been using it for 40 years plus, so I know that it works well, and
very
it's
cool.
not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere.
Finn asked if we've ever experienced those ready heaters. I think he's talking about the ones that have the rocks enclosed, usually have
Yep.
the lid, and it keeps it kind of at a lower temp
Yeah,
until you're ready to use it.
I've used plenty. Have you guys used them?
I have once, and really, I couldn't tell the difference, because we were all kind of, the person had already gotten it up to temp. The door was open, little lid on the top. It almost reminded me of those, trash cans that you see at the airport. They kind of have a dome around them, and then there's a lid that pops up, and you've got kind of on-demand heat. You can keep those stones, relatively warm, with low electricity, but then when you are ready to use it, you can crank it up, and you're ready to go a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I've never used it. Arrow, I'd be curious to hear what your report is on those, but I appreciate the mentality behind it. Someone wants to like always be ready to sauna. It's
Mm.
for someone that really loves sauna. I've only ever seen one in person, and it was at Timo's cabin. There's a sauna dealer in Colorado who's called the Sauna Guy, Timo, in Colorado, and he had a large finished cabin like a house, and then he had that inside his house, kind of the one that's kind of always ready to go.
Let me start the answer by telling you that when this happened very long time ago, but when our dear son was a baby, we obviously we were going crazy. You have to get out of the house to do stuff. So we decided to go to this ski resort in the mid part of Finland, and we booked ourselves into a hotel, and this hotel had this room with this peculiar thing that they called, obviously I didn't know sauna, but the kind of the thing that I saw didn't like resemble too much a sauna to me. And so it was basically a two-seater with that, but with that always ready heater with a lid. And I first, the same thing happened to me when we moved to the US and to this house where I'm right now. So this has a steam shower, which I thought the same thing happened with the steam showers happened with that thing. So I thought that, Well, I'm not going to use that sauna. It doesn't look like a real sauna. I'm not going to use. I have zero interest in that sauna or the steam shower. I didn't use it for the past, I don't know, 6 months after moving in. But now, uh, then I decided, okay, well, that that day, my wife, was watching after our kid, and I went to hit the slopes, and I was tired and sweaty and whatnot. And I thought that instead of taking the shower, maybe I'm going to try that sauna thing. And what a nice thing that was. It truly was. The in I might be wrong, but the Löyly is a little more humid than kind of is, and obviously, you most likely Risto knows this better than any of us, but the part of the sauna bathing experience is uh, the radiation that comes from the walls and everywhere, and that's where sabu sauna, the smoke sauna, is so important, or so great. And obviously, you are lacking that part of the sauna bathing experience. So it's kind of it's kind of a uh, it's a compromised sauna experience. But compared to having no sauna experience, it's just fine as long as you know that thing. And obviously, the walls are gonna start heating up, if you do it long enough. But at the start, it is basically a cold room, and the same thing goes. I've used plenty of those afterwards, and the same thing. It's like in my book, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the steam is more humid. There's more moisture in the air than a sauna that is heated for real and for good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
no
sense with the
complaint.
lower temp.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry if my internet connection is not at par today. There's something going on.
It's better. It's better.
Quite all right, Eero. We can hear you all right. Yeah, you might look like you're doing the robot in the playback, but no, that's great. When I used one, it was already fully up and running. So really, that room was to temp, so I really couldn't tell the difference between that and any other normal electric heater. So, I'd be interested to see it from a cool down state to a ready state to a function state, and just kind of go through that life cycle, because it's got to be a little bit different, I imagine.
Yeah, the nice thing is design-wise, the nice thing is that you have the rocks enclosed, So there is, like, kind of in theory, um, you can get the rocks hotter that way rather than just having the rocks open to the rest of the room. So
There's like the Aito Kiwas effect there, that really kicks butt. That Aito Kiwas, when you open the lid and the rocks are super hot, super hot. That's true.
We've got a comment here from Bad Cat. I went smelt fishing with a friend in a rental shack on Cannabic River. Um, and basically, they built 1x1x3s and construction wrap with a small wood stove. It got hot. So again, it doesn't have to be a crazy structure. It doesn't have to be this super finished, bespoke, multi-million dollar structure. Sometimes you can slap together something out there while you're fishing on the ice. A couple 2x4s, or in this case 1x3s, some wrap, a stove, and boom, you've got at least the makings for a good time.
That's true.
yeah,
So go
Tim
ahead.
Tim was having a little trouble with the cam and voice. I'm not sure what his setup is. Sometimes you have to kind of give permission, I think, to your browser to give it access to your camera or microphone.
And
Yeah.
we've got plenty of other comments coming in. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to drop in and say hi, by all means, click the link below or drop us a comment. We'll get you on here, or for the next one. If you want to jump on, we're going to be trying to do these more regularly on Sunday nights. I think this is a great Sauna Sunday edition. Great way to start the week for me. I know I like to sit in my sauna, reflect a little bit, see what I've got coming up in the in the next week here, and just try to prep a little bit. For you guys, are you using sauna to really decompress, or have you ever just used it as a prep tool? Do you like doing it before you do something to kind of get ready for maybe a strenuous activity, or like the workout crowd, they like getting in there, getting loose. But Risto, Eero, do you guys like doing sauna before any of your activities that you like doing?
I'm not. I don't. I'm not a morning sauna guy at all. I like the evening saunas, and after the exercises, I feel I love what it does to my muscles and whatnot. It's like I feel I don't know. Maybe I've been doing it for too long, but I just I need to go all the way with the sauna. So I'm not making, I'm not taking shortcuts. So I'm gonna be doing 3, 4, or 5 rounds, and after that, I'm so exhausted that there's no way that I could exercise anymore. I want to just point coming back to the always ready heaters, because there was talk about that takes the fun out of hitting your sauna. Finn says that he would feel cheated, if because sauna, the heating is part of the ritual, and that is exactly true. And so it's kind of, it's in the thermal treatment kind of category. It's like, it, at the depending on how you think at it, or it's either the lowest or the highest rank is a smoke sauna. Again, it takes about 4 to 5 hours, 4 hours to be heated up. Chopping the wood, heating the thing, tending the fire, filling the water tanks, doing everything. So it's part of that whole enjoyment. Now, hence I was explaining about the steam shower that we have. So steam shower and these always ready saunas come a little bit in the same category. So and we talk about this a lot. So it's a compromised sauna bathing experience, but at that it's very enjoyable. So obviously you can't, like, fire burning, electric. There's a fundamental difference there, and so there are different, like, categories, different layers, different levels of sauna, and that's somewhere, like, if you think about the very bad sauna is down here. If you think of the fantastic sauna is here. They're always ready. Depending on how you feel. Some people feel that that's the best ever thing to do. You don't have to care about any heating, anything. You just ready to go whenever you want. So they're willing to take that compromise. So it's a very individual choice.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said about that, really, like a daily practical or a sauna in the morning. I've heard of people taking sauna every day when they're during like the hay gathering season, or they're working in harvest, like out on a Finnish farm, that type of thing. Um, there's something about just like a boring place to wash yourself kind of experience, and then there's also what Bobby was saying earlier about when or you were saying, where it's like 4 or 5 rounds and you're really pushing it hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then let's see, Bobby was asking about what type of tanks. Is he talking about like a
The
water
water,
tank?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, this smoke heater has a water tank that is for the hot water, for the washing, for the bathing part. It's got a hot water tank, and that hot water tank has a metal pipe that makes a circle, in the it's sort of like surrounds the firebox. So it's basically, because of the heat, it creates, this loop that heats up the bathing water nicely. So you get, this is as rustic as they come. So there's no electricity inside the smoke sauna, and there is a hose. So you can it's fresh water. It's a river that is next to, so you can run that hose and either get the actual, like, running water from your spigot from the house, or you get the water from the river. But they're both just fine for what you use them for. So what we do is we fill the um, cold water, buckets with water from the river, and then we have that hot water thing, and then we mix those two, and then there you have the washing water.
Yeah, those that kind of is set up where you have your water pipe going through the heater or on like a water jacket on the back of the heater. That's super common in the UP in northern Minnesota. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Tons of saunas have those.
yeah,
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 I gotta agree with Finn. It does sound like a giant still.
yeah. It is. Yeah, yeah, it does.
So we also had another question here by EIB Maz 76. Do windows need to be made of any special type of glass to be used in a sauna? And so I think Eero can definitely attest. He's seen anything and everything be used as a pane of glass. So
Yeah,
again, my definition is always, hey, get with a local glass company and ask them, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you recommend? But again, it as long as you're smart about it and you're not using super thin, you're not using something that's not going to take the heat. Just make sure that it can withstand at least 200-300 degrees Fahrenheit, and you should be all right. But again, is this going to be in a space that's ventilated? Are you looking to do a floor to ceiling window, in a giant sheet of glass? So if you're looking to do something outside the norm, recommend get with a local glass company. Have them, get you fixed up right.
Yeah, and Julie's mom sauna has both. So they have the double pane and then just on the wall, and then a single pane on the door. And I will say, I mean, and both work fine. The double pane loses a lot less heat. That single pane, that the glass gets hot to the touch from the outside.
Yep. Yeah, and so then you're going to be your door is probably a quarter inch thick, and those that double pane has that vacuum seal or whatever gas they put in between it to add that insulation value. So a double pane, you know, window is going to have at least some kind of an R rating or some kind of an insulated rating, where your standard sheet of glass, it's just not going to be able to heat, take and withhold any heat. So our rule of thumb, if you've listened to our podcast long enough, 25% of your sauna folks should, no more than 25% should be glass. You should have wood walls, and keep the big panes, that whole one wall of glass. You're going to have a hard time, guys. Try to minimize the glass where you can. It's fun to look outside and it's great to have good views, but don't compromise the overall sauna just because you want to be able to, somebody to see your feet from the outside.
Yeah, I think Jeff Pizek said online this week. Jeff, who's been on our show before, said, "Do you want an Instagrammable sauna, or do you want one that functions well?"
Yeah.
And that's true.
Few and far between sometimes.
Yeah, and like what Sam was obviously rightfully indicating. So back in the day, back home, there were one pane, simple glass, as simple as you could get. I think that double pane was not even invented, till like it started become the norm. I think in the 70s or something. When all the windows were moved to but yeah, it's got to be, in this new fad, with the some call them, and it is this not no negativity per se, but these fishbowl saunas, you have to have tempered glass, you have to have everything, because it's the area is so big that it but it's it's a fad now. It's gonna go away, but obviously a window has to be there somewhere. You want to have a window, and like in our case, we have that when it's dark outside, and obviously smoke sauna is super dark because of the smoke. So you have that lantern outside the window, and it gives that fantastic glow into your sauna space. It creates the magic.
Yeah, and then Bobby has a good tip here. I think I've heard this one before, where you can use ashes to clean off a tempered glass. I think I've even heard. Did I hear newspaper before? I feel like I've
Yeah.
heard that.
Yep. Yeah. Newspaper and glass has definitely been around for quite a while. But
Yeah.
again, who's getting a newspaper delivered anymore?
Just pull it up on your phone and then clean your glass with that
Yeah. Yeah.
newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah. $2.99 a month first.
Yeah, Bobby had asked about our Discord, and we'd set that up a while ago. I don't know if we still have the link to that. We have to pull that up, and then if anyone's
Yeah, well,
interested,
we'll have to get that back up and cooking. I know
yeah.
a lot of people, they want to get a hold of us. They're all on a lot of different platforms right now. The Upper Bench is pretty active on YouTube. Again, that's where you're probably viewing us right now. But we are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We've got a few others as well. But again, that seems to be like that's where we're getting the bulk of our viewership. So if you are on something else, or if you suggest you'd like to see us on another platform, by all means, let us know.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Discord is like it's like more like kind of like a message board. It's kind of it's usually more focused than like a Facebook or Instagram would be, maybe more topically based. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah, or if you've ever used like Microsoft Teams where, you're in a group, you've got a chat, you've got a message board, but you're all really there for one kind of topic or one goal. So we could make a message board about wood burning saunas. We could make a message board about electric saunas and have a lot of cool, fun links, and have a pretty good, colorful discussion going on there if that's what our viewers want to do.
Yeah, yeah, and that could be fun because all of us we're free agents. We don't work for any sauna company, so it's just going to be kind of like one of those forums where you can really say what you're thinking. If there's a certain brand that's giving people trouble, it's always good for the sauna community to be honest about that stuff and
Mhm.
hope, not that we're bad mouthing a brand or anything. You hope that they improve. Every company runs into hiccups every now and again.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think if we all could agree on that one item or that one brand or that one sauna that it checked all the boxes, we'd be telling you about it, folks. We're out there hunting just like you. The perfect sauna is quite elusive. If you think about it like a product, but again, that's why we do try to embrace those DIY folks. We try to embrace the people that are having fun and make it their own, because we're all trying to achieve the perfect sauna. And sometimes we do fall a little bit short because of certain constraints, but again, we're in this together. We all want to see everybody improve. So if you do have questions or concerns, we're not going to give you a line of crap. We're not going to try to sell you anything. We're just here to help and have a good time.
Yeah, we have so as Tim said, I sent pictures of sent pictures of his small 6x6 sauna that we showed, and then Sam, you'd mentioned that adding more rocks would help, and it sounds like it did help.
Always. Yeah, I would say, when you have the room for more rocks, add them. If you've got room to grow that rock pile, by all means. As long as can still let them breathe and you're not choking off the heater, by all means, more rocks. You're going to have a little bit longer heat up time, like we talked about earlier on the show. But if you can throw that water liberally and make that good steam, there's a trade off there.
Yeah, and then Finn asks is if Matt's going to come on the show. I don't know. Have you had any more interaction with Matt? Um,
I tried to refrain from all the trolling on the infrared crowd. I love those guys. They play along. A lot of them don't know any better, and it's just fun to kind of show them, hey, there is another side to the coin, guys. If you're going to be a sauna group and not allow talk about all saunas, then hey, you're going to get stuck in an echo chamber sometimes. So it is fun to get targeted when you get interested in a if you are interested in wood burning only, or if you're interested in infrared only, there are those groups. But again, make sure you're being open to all those other options too. So I think a lot of times those infrared crowd, they get locked in on an infrared and they don't even realize where it all started.
And let's just talk a minute about this, because is being brought up basically every time you talk to anybody. You start talking about infrared at some point, and it's kind of apples and oranges. So it's this kind of, we're focusing in so much different totally different directions. So as Bobby knows so well, I'm basing my lecture, traveling around the United States this year. I'm basing it to the discussion that I had with Bobby, and the four elements that were given to us: fire, earth, air, and water. And so those are the elements that the authentic sauna bathing experience consists of: fire, earth, air, and water. Now, infrared is a totally different thing. Is there fire? No. Is there earth? No. There are no rocks, and the infrared rooms are not in the nature ever. Is there air? No, there's no ventilation. Is there water? No, only your sweat. So it's like, in all these counts, it doesn't it's a different thing. So we can't really even though you wanted to, but you can't compare these because it's such a totally different beast.
Yeah, and it really matters where you're starting out, what your motivations are. Um, I've said before, you could snap your fingers and have every sauna in North America be like perfect, designed to whatever the perfect finish spec is. But that still doesn't answer the question of what are you using that thing for and why are you going there? If you start there and you understand that well, then the infrared question doesn't really matter a whole lot because you're going to probably want steam. And you're going to want a more robust heat that's kind of enveloping. And you're going to want a place where you can invite a few friends over and have a get together. So once you understand all those things, it kind of rules out a bunch of the kind of uh, less robust products on the market.
But some people
Mhm.
love them, and so be it. So be it. If that's your calling, then it is his or her calling. But it's kind of difficult to have strike a good conversation because again it's oranges and apples or whatever, bananas, yeah, or plums, whatever. But it's just like how do you compare?
Yeah.
You cannot really do that.
Yeah,
Um,
and you look at it all comes from the motivation. Are you just trying to get from point A to point B? I'll sell you a car. Are you hauling something? Okay, you need a pickup. Or whatever the in between might be. And I think we all look at, the people on motorcycles going, "Oh, what's that?" And yeah, there's going to be a lot of different modalities there, even between traditional sauna. We all agree that, electric, stoves and wood burning stoves that, that we can still get a good heat out of them. They might be different, but we can still get a good heat out of them if we can introduce a little water to the rocks, get some steam going. We can achieve the elements with those. But again, when we start breaking out of those elements, we can't introduce water to a panel. You can't, do the other things that you want to do. There's really no emphasis on the sauna itself. And so it just becomes a product. I'm getting 15 minutes. I got my fibromyalgia is feeling better and I'm out the door. That's great. I hope they have a positive experience and I hope they share it with others. I hope they tell everybody that their sauna, did great things for them. Because again, heat therapy, what's good for the goose is going to be good for the gander. But when we look at it, yeah, it just doesn't fit that definition of a real sauna experience.
Yeah, I think my main issue is that just people aren't educated in it. It's not like they're making that choice. They don't even know that the choice is there to make. It gave me kind of a new idea for maybe some trolling you could do in the infrared group, Sam. Is like maybe you say like, "Hey, I was bathing in my infrared, sauna and splashed around some water, and it seems to be shorting out, and I'm having trouble getting rid of the soap. What do you guys
Weird.
do for that? What do you recommend?" Or
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, or hey, I hot rodded my IR. I put a wood burning stove inside my infrared room. Hey, what's the best way to put a wall thimble through an infrared panel?
where
You
where do you cook your sausages in there? Where's the best place? I'm having a party and it's 6 or 7 people. I having trouble managing where to cook the sausages and where to have everyone
oh yeah,
sit.
it's wild. I honestly, I think I'd rather be in that 2x3 or 1x3, out on a lake with a construction wrap around it with a stove inside it. I think I'd rather be in that than the most high end bougie, infrared cabin because again, hey, I've got a stove here. I'm throwing water around. Who cares if it gets dirty, messy? And that to me is a heck of a lot more fun.
The now Finn brings this point of view that when there's without Löyly, it's not a sauna, and that kind of I'm stealing what Finn just writes there because we have so much to do, we have so much to conquer, and the whole discussion of steam is taking its baby steps in this country particularly. People really don't know what the kind of the idea is, and what and Bobby and I, back in the day, we spoke about different steams. So it's not one and done. It's not one fits all kind of a steam. There are different steams that you can create. But it's like, even there are many people who we know well who don't actually create any steam, even though they have the stove, they have everything is geared towards a real sauna bathing experience, but they just don't do it, and it's their choice. But again, when you've been doing this for quite some time, as I have been, it's all about steam, all about steam.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree with this comment here. And this is really, I think, the good approach to the conversation. You can have the debate of, is it a sauna, is it not a sauna? I do think there is a certain element of false marketing, but the sauna world can't get too high on our horse because we've sold a lot of really crappy saunas over the years, that technically meet the definition. So I think it's better to have a discussion of, like, how is that experience? Get into
Mm.
the specifics of, like, is the heat surrounding you all over the place, or do you feel like you have to rotisserie in the thing?
Bad cat here, I think really hit it on the head. Is it fun? Is it fun or not? Is it fun to sit in an infrared cabin and be cold on one side if you're sharing it with somebody? Because again, you gotta the real way to get full coverage is you got to be right next to every panel right next to you. So if you're sitting there with your friend, they're absorbing what you can't see. So you really got to like them to compromise on your session.
There was something I wanted to say about that. Yeah, well, it'll come to me. I lost my thought, but
Yeah, yeah, I think Matt even mentioned that. I think I'd asked him one time, maybe in the comments, I said, like, "What's the ideal infrared? Like, what would be the dream setup?" He's used a ton. He's very knowledgeable. He knows his stuff, as far as, like, infrared goes, and he said one that just kind of is like a vertical barrel that just kind of wraps around you, and
Yeah.
it just shows, like, kind of what you're missing. Whereas in an actual sauna, that heat can get in the air, enveloping you from the walls, if the walls are warm, and then that steam, good luck running from that.
Right.
the thing that I forgot was that, so I was chatting yesterday with Mikkel Aland, and so he wrote this book in 1978, and the topic of the book is sweat. And I wanted to say to him, but I forgot. I wanted to say to him that is kind of like a little bit like a disfavor for the whole sauna world in a way, because people do read these like titles, and in different ways. So some people think that this is a guy who's he is very knowledgeable about all the thermal therapy traditions around the world, and particularly sauna. So he titles his book "Sweat." So you don't even read the book, but just like think, okay, this is about sweat, so that's
Mhm.
easy, But it's not that simple. So it's just like the sweating is kind of a side product of that heavenly experience that you're getting.
Oh, yeah,
But so you can.
that first beat of sweat when you're really hitting, you can just feel your heart rate starting to rise. You got those first couple beads of sweat starting to form and roll down. Oh, that's heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But hey,
and
guys, we've been doing this for, I mean, I'm sure we could go for quite a while. We've been going for over an hour. We've got some great feedback here. Something I want to touch on before we leave tonight. Bobby always mentions it. I always mention it. We talk about it big here on the upper bench is community. Again, sauna is about community. It's about being with, the people you love, sharing the things you love to do. Again, life's a heck of a lot easier when you've got some friends and family around you to do it with. So again, we can't thank you enough for tuning in tonight, being a part of this, saying hi, dropping a chat, dropping a comment. We love you. And again, anything that we can do to help your sauna experience, feel free to reach out, folks. We love to help.
yeah, if there's any last questions that people have, or if they want to stop in, You know, we can be pretty flexible. If anyone needs to leave, they can leave, or if people want to hang out, we can do that. So it's up to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I like. We've got one here. Tim said, in his wood-fired sauna, usually likes eucalyptus oil with the steam. So, putting a little eucalyptus oil in the water. I gotta say, I'm the same way. I've got an old Nalgene bottle, the old 1 liter, and I'll fill that up with water, and I'll put probably 6, 7 drops of eucalyptus oil in there, shake it up good, get it good and mixed, and then pour it on as needed. So, and over time, went from a cap full to, hey, we're going to pour a quarter. Hey, we're going to pour a lot. And it's nice to have something that, hey, you can kind of judge how much you're throwing. If you don't have the big bucket and ladle, you're not throwing a bunch of water around like myself. I don't have a drain, so got to be a little bit sparingly in how I throw my water, because any water that doesn't get eaten up by the rocks is going on my floor. And so want to try to minimize that where I can.
Yeah, and there's always the cool thing about sauna is there's always stuff to learn. There's so much to learn. I'm still always learning. There was a post online in one of the groups. I don't know if we've talked about this, where someone in Finland was showing how they did the scent of tar in their sauna. So they had some Nordic brand of tar, and then they took a strip of wood. Did you guys see this? They took a strip of wood and they dipped like maybe an inch down into the tar,
Mm.
pulled it out, and then they just set it up somewhere in their sauna, like wedged in between a couple other pieces of wood, just sitting up into the air like this with that tar. And then they
Mhm.
said when they would throw steam, then that would, kind of, you get a little bit of a tar scent in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Interesting.
a great way to do it. I mean, they sell a lot of gadgets. You can get a little diffuser. You can, even just put a little shot glass somewhere on the wall. You could put a little, take a little piece of trim wood or something, make a little shelf, and you could put a shot glass on the wall somewhere near you. You put a couple drops of oil in there and let that just naturally diffuse out, because it's going to get hot and just evaporate. That's a great way to do it too.
Or just hang up a bunch of branches
What
all
about
over the place too.
what about putting a little bit of beer on the rocks to get that bread
Oh
smell?
yeah.
It smells exactly like bread, and that's kind of a lovely. If you're hungry, it kind of fills your stomach to
Y
smell that
But
it
bread.
dilute
gets
it.
savory. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
dilute it.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're one of those guys that's drinking those 19% Imperial IPAs, be careful. You might get a little flash when you're putting something hot like that on the rocks.
There was a question about the word about rocks gumming up, and you don't put that directly to you don't put those oils directly to you put them you put a couple of drops on your bucket, I mean ladle, and then you throw. So there's no gumming up. There's so little. The quantities are so
Yep.
small.
Yeah, always start more diluted, and then you can always increase that you can always increase the strength later. um but you're okay if you're soaking your branches, whether it's birch or oak or linden or whatever. That's pretty much okay to use. That doesn't seem to get too strong if you use that water.
No, and yeah, birch branches are fragrant. That is true.
All right, gentlemen. Well,
Uh,
you know what? I've got some hungry pups here begging to be let out. I'm gonna have to bounce out, but this has been great. I love it. Again, hopefully we'll be able to do it with Eero in Finland coming up here the next couple weeks. Safe travels to him.
yeah,
We're looking forward to
thank you.
hopefully, just keeping these things going.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Have a
Have a
great
great one.
night.